AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. That's right.
Hour 2 off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Pluckers. I'm Matt.
I appreciate it, bud. Have a good one.
Danny Cardenas.
Every time I come around the city, bang, bang. Think it rain with about bang, bang, bang.
Muse. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. We'll hear from Ed Ogeron about 15 minutes. So normally on Mondays, Coach O would have his teleconference or his press conference. That did not happen this week with the team in Houston. So today was the SEC coaches teleconference, which is every Wednesday. So this is literally the only time this week that we're going to hear from Ed Ogeron in advance of the game on Saturday against UCLA. So we'll hear from Coach O in about 12 minutes from right now. So the Saints are going to play their opener against Green Bay in Jacksonville. We got that news today from the NFL. There was some talk that it was going to be in Dallas or Arlington at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play. Apparently there is a concert there that week, which is going to preclude them from having the game there. So the Saints will play the Packers week 1 in Jacksonville. And I was thinking earlier, what is the advantage and what are the pros and the cons of playing that game in Jacksonville? And literally there are none. There are literally no advantages whatsoever. There's not a single plus that I or anyone can think about the Saints playing the Packers in Jacksonville. If you're going to lose a game in the Dome, you're just at a disadvantage. If there's one silver lining that I could give you, it's that the Saints were going to be an underdog in that game anyway. Now, playing it in the Dome certainly would have given you a much better chance to win it, but that one may be irrelevant of where it's played. The Packers GM, Gutekunst, whatever that guy's name is, who's been pissing off Aaron Rodgers all offseason, or all year, he said, well, we would love for the game to have been at Lambeau Field. I bet you would, Gutekunst. Not going to happen there. But Saints will play in Jacksonville. Also, we learned today that the Saints have entered an agreement with TCU, who have offered their facilities to the Saints. Mickey Loomis released a statement today via all the Saints social media, thanking TCU, their administration, Gary Patterson, to allow them to use their field, strength and conditioning facilities. So many thanks to the TCU program, the city of Fort Worth, for welcoming the Saints, where they will continue to prepare until New Orleans is ready. The Dome, no damage to the Dome, which is great news, but if it's several weeks until the city's back online with power, until you can get essential workers for a game day, ticket takers, concession workers, parking attendants, security, all of them, until you can get game day workers back, you can't host a event at that scale in the Dome. So here's hoping sooner than later, but the Saints will open up in Jacksonville against Green Bay in a home game, and then they'll play back-to-back road games against Carolina and New England, and then they'll come home week 4 against the Giants, and the hope, sincere hope, is by then the Saints will be back in the Dome, working out and training in their facility. And I've said this over and over and over again, I think the Saints in their first 5 before the bye need to be 3-2. If they're 3-2 going into the bye, I think they have a fantastic chance of finishing above 500 and we'll see if, say, a 9-8 season is enough to get you into the postseason. Maybe 10-7 might be that benchmark, but I think they have a shot, a really good shot, if they can finish the first 5 games at 3-2. If they're sub 500, it becomes infinitely more difficult just the way you look at the schedule lays out. So just keep an eye on that as they move through the first 5 games of the season. So on Tuesday was the roster cut-down day, so every team had to go to 53. And the thing that I've said over and over again is that it's never the final 53, it's the first 53, because inevitably, as 31 other teams cut 27 players and more than 800 players become free agents, the Saints are going to find somebody out there that they want to add. Well, it turns out that there were 2 players that the Saints added. One is ex-Broncos fullback Adam Prentice. If you remember Adam Prentice, he played collegiately at South Carolina. He was a grad transfer, so he started at Colorado State. When Mike Bobo went from Colorado State to South Carolina, he took several players with him. One of those was Adam Prentice. Prentice kind of had the reputation of being like a 6th offensive lineman because he's that good of a blocker, but he's also versatile. Like, he can catch, he's an H-back, he can be a fullback, he can carry the ball. So he's that. And Sean Payton continues to defy the progression of the game of football by continuing to implement a fullback into his very progressive offense. But we've seen fullbacks play a integral role in Sean Payton's offense. And if he likes Adam Prentice, that's really obviously very good. They also signed Montravius Adams. And Montravius Adams is someone who should be very familiar to this audience. Montravius Adams played his collegiate ball at Auburn. He was a 3rd-round pick. He was the 3rd-round pick of the Packers in 2017. And he just never really popped in Green Bay. In his time in Green Bay in those 4 years, he played in 45 games. So he played in 45 games. He made 3 starts. So he was on the field a good bit, just never quite developed into the impact guy. In those 45 games, just 44 career tackles and 1.5 sacks. But when you're the New Orleans Saints, you look at this probably one of 2 ways. Jalen Dalton was going to make your team. Jalen Dalton was I don't know that he would have been a starter, but he was going to make your team. He was going to be a rotational guy. Well, he has the unfortunate injury where he tears a muscle in his arm, and he's on IR. He's done for the year. So you need someone at that level. Well, Montravius Adams was a 3rd-round pick who's played in 45 games and maybe just needs an opportunity to be an every-down player. This very well could be it, at least for the first 6 weeks until David Onyemata comes back. So for the first 6 games of the season, I should say, until Onyemata comes back. Montravius Adams fits in perfectly as a big dude that's over 6'5" and 320 pounds that could be right there in the middle, maybe less David Onyemata and more Malcolm Brown, who the Saints traded this offseason to Jacksonville. That this is the big body in the middle that you hope can push the pile and open up the edges for other guys to make plays. I would really look at this and say, could Montravius Adams be Nick Fairley? And I'm not sitting here trying to compare the two because Nick Fairley in college was a human cheat code. He was phenomenal at Auburn. And he was a first-round draft pick in Detroit who was playing alongside Ndamukong Suh and just was overshadowed there. He went to St. Louis, and then he was playing with Brockers and Aaron Donald, and so he was just deep in a rotation. By the time he got to New Orleans, it was, all right, Cat, here's your chance to go start and make plays. And he did. Had a career year. Now, unfortunately, his season and career ended because of his heart condition, but maybe this is something Montravius Adams can do. Maybe this is something where Montravius Adams having the opportunity not to look over his shoulder, knowing he at least has an opportunity to go be a guy in this rotation for the first 6 games of the season, maybe that helps free him up to be the player, live up to the billing when he was a 3rd-round pick coming out of Auburn. So the Saints have added Montravius Adams and defensive lineman Montravius Adams and fullback Adam Prentice. So naturally, there have to be corresponding moves. You can't just add players unwittingly to a roster. You've got to be able to, you have to remove players from your roster as well. One of the players apparently that we know the Saints have cut is kicker Aldrick Rosas. Now, as I'm looking here, Nick Underhill on Twitter put this out there as Tom Pelissero tweeted that Rosas is expected to return later in the week. What Underhill points out is that this move likely comes after Will Lutz goes on IR. So this is what we talked about earlier with your sort of initial 53, how the Saints kept both Aldrick Rosas and Will Lutz. That's because if Will Lutz starts the season on IR, he's got to miss the first 6 weeks. You wouldn't get it back to week 7, like with Michael Thomas. If he made the initial 53, now he can go to short-term IR, and you can get him back after 3 weeks. So Rosas becomes your kicker. So you tell him, hey, listen, we're going to cut you. This is just a formality. Like, we're going to sign you right back, but we need the roster spot today to get this defensive lineman. So we're waiting to see what the other move is, the other corresponding move is, and when we know that, we'll pass it along. Also of note, the Saints have begun signing players to their practice squad. Let me just direct you to Nick Underhill's Twitter because he has a really good thread going there with every player, as he's reported, that has been added to the practice squad. So I'll just roll through these quickly. Wide receiver Quan Baker was the 7th-round draft pick of the Saints this year. He's been added to the practice squad. Cornerback Brian Mills, who was one of those veteran guys who they added late in the process. That's another option. You add him to the practice squad. If you get in a pinch with depth at cornerback, you can sign someone who knows your system. Linebacker Wynton McManus, who played very well in the second preseason game. He's been added to the practice squad, as has Caleb Beninock, the offensive tackle. A defensive lineman, Josiah Brunson, has been added to the practice squad. The Saints wanted to keep J.R. Sweezy. Now, this was an interesting one because there's 2 veterans that they were interested in keeping on the practice squad. One was J.R. Squeezy, but he declined. He wants to go explore other opportunities for now. Sweezy did not play particularly well in the preseason, but that's a guy that has played a lot of football in his career, notably with Arizona. And if you were looking for, I've drawn this comparison several times, but if you were looking for the guy that could be this year's Nick Easton, your sort of swing guy on the interior who's a veteran, who's played a lot, that made a lot of sense. But apparently he wants an opportunity to go be on a 53 and not be on a practice squad. Kevin White, the former 7th overall pick of the draft, the Saints have added him to the practice squad. So his journey is not completely over. And in fairness, he was only with the Saints for a couple of days before he went out and played that game against Jacksonville. He had a couple of targets, a couple of drops, which was unfortunate. But Sean Payton wants the deep threat. He wants the guy that can stretch the field and blow the top off the defense, and maybe he's looking at Kevin White as the guy that can still be that with some more time to develop in this offense. Former Tennessee tight end Ethan Wolf added to the practice squad. Defensive tackle Albert Huggins. Fullback Sutton Smith, who they like a lot, also added to the practice squad. So we'll keep you up to date as we know more of these names. But a good Alex Arma and Aesop Winston are the other 2, by the way. Good thread there from Nick Underhill on Twitter at Nick_Underhill if you want to go see all of those names right there. But Nick's got them all concise in one place. You can go check that out. So the Saints roster is starting to come into form here after the initial 53, and now they've added a couple of guys since. And we have until next Sunday when the Saints will play their opener against Green Bay in Jacksonville to find out what that final 53 will look like as the Saints go into Week 1. Okay, it's after further review. LSU Week 1, Saturday against UCLA out in the Rose Bowl. What did Ed Ogeron say on the SEC Coaches Teleconference? One very notable freshman who had made a big impact is not going to be available for this game against UCLA. We'll tell you who next on AFR.
AFR.
A big tip of the cap and salute to our frontline workers at the Baton Rouge General Hospital here after Hurricane Ida, while also, of course, still dealing with a full hospital of COVID patients. brgeneral.org, brgeneral.org. Just sincere thanks to all the medical workers, everyone who's in the medical field who keeps us safe and healthy, and are so many of them away from their family for days at a time. They can't evacuate hospitals, but we just salute them. brgeneral.org to learn more about the Baton Rouge General Hospital. We'll continue reminding you about the COVID-19 vaccine. If you want to be vaccinated or you want to learn more about the vaccine, brgeneral.org, brgeneral.org. Right there on the homepage, you can get info on the vaccine or you can schedule your vaccine. Remember, the Baton Rouge General Bluebonnet, Mid-City, Ascension Neighborhood Hospital, and Express Care locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. Expanding healthcare in Baton Rouge. It is the Baton Rouge General Hospital.
Have After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
All right, rolling along on a hump day edition of AFR. Russ Mitchell, 1 hour from right now. It's football season. We're going to preview week 1 of the SEC, so certainly looking forward to having Russ with us in an hour from right now. Ed Ogeron was on the SEC coaches teleconference earlier Wednesday morning, and there's some good news around LSU, which maybe the prevailing storyline throughout fall camp has been injuries. First, it was Miles Brennan with the broken arm. We learned about Glenn Logan having the broken foot, which is going to keep him out for some time this year. And then it seemed like every day it was a different position group that got dinged. It was Anthony Bradford or Chasen Hines or Garrett Dellinger on the offensive line. It was just this constant, both veteran running backs, John Emery and Ty Davis-Price missed time. Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks missed time. It just seemed like throughout all of fall camp, that was sort of the prevailing storyline, was they were injured. And, my contention is I don't necessarily know that this was any different than any other year or any other fall camp. I just think Ed Ogeron is a more candid head coach. I just think a lot of coaches don't talk about injuries. And Ed was just really willing to talk about injuries. So normal camp dings or bumps or bruises we may never have learned about. We were just told about this year. But one of the things that I have and will continue to compliment Ed Ogeron for is I think he has a very good sense of when to push his guys hard and when to ease up. And that's really been the case since he took over as the interim head coach back in 2016. And lo and behold, they seem really healthy going into this game. Ed Ogeron said that Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks are both good. They're going to play. Ty Davis-Price, John Emery are out there. It looks like the offensive line is going to be healthy, except for maybe Chasen Hines. All in all, the Tigers are pretty healthy relative to what the narrative was throughout fall camp. Now, he did also talk about the running backs and the offensive line when he was on the teleconference earlier today.
Ty Davis has gotten there running back, so it looks like he's fine. I think the offensive line is going to take time to gel a little bit because we haven't had our starting offensive line the whole camp. I think that's the area where it's going to have to gel, but they have to gel fast because UCLA looked pretty good on the defensive front. They
did, and you all know that has been my biggest cause for concern is the offensive line. I just think that they are going to see really good defensive fronts. I think A&M, Alabama, Florida all will have dominant defensive fronts, and if LSU doesn't iron out some of their issues, it's going to be tough sledding. And this will be very telling for LSU. When you go up against the defensive front from UCLA that isn't going to be as big, fast, or physical as the SEC fronts that I mentioned, but is still a big, fast, physical defensive front, this would be a good gauge for how far along this unit is. Specifically, though, with Ed talking about Ty Davis, today, Ty Davis-Price, he gets in the habit of calling him Ty Davis, but it's Ty Davis-Price. But earlier today, we recorded the LSU training camp report, the Tiger training camp report for CST, which will air on Friday. And every year, this is, I don't know, the 10th year that I've done that with Eric Ritchie and Paul Boron and so many other talented people. We always wrap up the final episode with over-under. And Eric throws out passing total, rushing total, receiving total, sacks, different stuff like that, win total. And when he got to running back, I was really miffed. Who was going to be the leading rusher, and will they go over 800 yards rushing? And I said that I think it'll be Ty Davis-Price. And the reason is because I think John Emery had the open door. But John Emery is the most athletic of the backs LSU has and the most gifted athletically. But I think it's more than just take the ball and run fast. You've got to be able to block. You've got to be able to catch. You've got to be able to run the route tree. All the things that we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire do so successfully. And I don't know that they trust John Emery right now to do all of those things, which is probably part of the reason he's not going to be on the field. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of 2007 when you had Keelan Williams and Jacob Hester. And people salivated over the idea of Keelan Williams because athletically he was so magnificent. But Keelan sometimes had trouble hanging onto the ball. And Keelan maybe didn't always know the plays. And Hester never fumbled. Like, he fumbled his first, like, as a friend, he's told the story, but, you know, in 04 against Georgia, and then never literally did not fumble again the rest of his career. And he was always so reliable. He always fell forward. He always got positive yards. When you needed 2, he got 3. When you needed 6, he got 7. He was just that guy who was always guy ended up being a fullback in the NFL. It was still amazing. I mean, but sometimes it goes that way. You've got to be able to do everything you need a running back to do. And that may be why Ty Davis-Price becomes the guy. I think this is going to look a lot like 2011. And in 2011, Spencer Ware had the most rushing attempts, but he finished with 707 yards. Michael Ford finished with the most rushing yards at 756. Alfred Blue had 539. Jordan Jefferson had 263. Kenny Hilliard came on late, if you remember, and had 336. Terrence McGee had 133 yards rushing. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 6 players that went over 100 yards rushing on the season. I think that's this year. I think you have 5 running backs. All 5 running backs are going to play. And then you're going to factor in the quarterback because I think Max Johnson is going to be a rushing part of this offense as well. It's going to be out of necessity. Now, the one bit of disappointing news that Ed Orgeron gave today on the teleconference was about a freshman wide receiver who has really popped, and it's some unfortunate news.
Malik will not be able to play. I don't know if Malik will play till a couple of games into the season. He definitely is going to be out for UCLA.
Malik, of course, is Malik Neighbors, the freshman wide receiver who drew so many rave reviews from everybody. Rohan Davey sat in studio with us yesterday and said, "He's a dog," was the exact quote. Loves Malik Neighbors. And I think that's a guy who has tremendous potential. And when he gets on the field and has his opportunity, he's going to pop. But Malik Neighbors has a shoulder injury. That's going to keep him out against UCLA. And if they're being smart and prudent with him, they'll keep him out against McNeese and Central Michigan as well, and then try to get him back for that gauntlet of 5 straight SEC games that starts with Mississippi State. But disappointing that Malik Neighbors won't be able to go in the opener against UCLA. I'm sure he's disappointed as well. But for LSU, that's a spot where you just know they have so much talent and they have so many options where if somebody's not available, it's just, okay, run the next really tall, fast, athletic guy that can catch out there to go see if he can make a play from behind Kayshon Boutte, if it's Trey Palmer or John Trey Kirkland or any of the younger guys, if it's Brian Thomas or Chris Hilton, there's just Trey Palmer. There's a bevy of options, and Max Johnson's going to have plenty to throw to. The real question is, are they going to be able to keep him upright and give him the opportunity to throw while not being under duress? That's what we'll find out coming up on Saturday, and that, for me, is the biggest question for the LSU-UCLA game. But Tigers are getting healthy. They will be without Malik Neighbors, though, which is disappointing. But either way, Tigers head into the game against UCLA on Saturday in pretty good shape. And I'll remind you one other thing. Interestingly enough, the Bill Connolly, who puts out the S&P Plus, has the S&P Plus, which is a computer algorithm, has picked UCLA to win the game. I believe the final score he had it was he didn't have it, the computer had 31-30 UCLA. And then I was reading this at ESPN.com earlier today from Mark Schlabach, where he predicted every Power 5 conference order of finish. And in the SEC West, they've got Bama, Texas A&M, LSU. But he's got LSU 8-4. But he's got them 5-3 in conference. The fourth loss, UCLA, which he lists as the upset of the year. UCLA over LSU on September the 4th. Y'all, there are a lot of people that are picking UCLA to win this football game. And I've told you my feeling on it. I'm I don't believe UCLA wins this game. I do think LSU wins, and I think they cover. I think they cover the 3. But I do think this is a 4-quarter game, and I do think this is going to be a much tougher game than most people here are predicting it to be. Should be a really, really fun Saturday in the Rose Bowl coming up. Okay, so after further review, let me knock out a quick break. Overrated or underrated when we come back next. Tigers and the Pros still ahead. Russ Mitchell in 45 minutes. So glad you're here on a Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Pluckers.
AFR.
Love telling you about our friends over at Hancock Whitney, where their mantra is, your dreams, our mission. That's Hancock Whitney. And right now, there may not have been a better time for that mantra than post a storm like Hurricane Ida, where so many people have been affected by this storm. And maybe, like they say, when something like this happens, the first thing when you meet adversity that go by the wayside are your dreams. Well, at Hancock Whitney Bank, your dream is our mission. So visit a financial center, visit HancockWhitney.com, where they've been making dreams happen for more than 120 years, and see how they can make your dreams their mission. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All loans and accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Locations all over the Gulf Coast for more than 120 years. Find one near you at HancockWhitney.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Pluckers Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week, where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Pluckers Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
All right, glad you're rolling along with us here on a Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Pluckers. Glad to have you hanging out with us. Russ Mitchell in 45 minutes from right now. We will preview the week 1 in the SEC. We'll talk LSU, UCLA, lots of good stuff. Musa will have Tigers and the Pros in about 10 minutes from right now. Right now, though, we started this a few weeks ago. It's going pretty well, so we'll just keep rolling with it. We call it overrated or underrated. It's where Musa throws me questions or ideas, just certain things in the world, pop culture, sports, whatever it may be. And I tell you if I think they're overrated or underrated. All right, Muse, let's hit overrated or underrated.
Can do. Hold on. Let me get it pulled up over here. All right. Overrated or underrated? Beef jerky.
I think beef jerky is underrated. It's a healthy snack. It's packed with protein. And I like the texture. Now, I'm throwing a caveat here. I'm not a Slim Jim fan, with all due respect to Macho Man.
Yeah.
But if you have like real beef jerky, you know what I'm saying? That are like they're like flat and really tough, as opposed to like the round, thin, waxy Slim Jims. No disrespect to Slim Jim, they're fine. But I'm talking about the texture of real beef jerky. Underrated, man. Underrated. I like that. It's almost like a baby with a teether. What's good about a baby with a teether? That's what I like about Slim Jim. Or that's what I like about beef jerky.
I got you there.
I misspoke. That's what I like about beef jerky.
Not a Freudian slip then.
No.
Okay.
I just misspoke.
Okay. Yeah, beef jerky was one of my hurricane snacks. Had a lot of it. Yeah, had a lot of it, man.
Good. It's good. It's a good healthy snack.
It is.
It's a good healthy snack.
Very good. Overrated or underrated? Swole refs. You know, like.
Oh, overrated.
Yeah, you don't like it?
Overrated. A part of me respects the fact that if you know you're going to be on TV, you keep yourself in shape. I respect that. But there's no need to be roided out with the sleeves 4 sizes too small, and then every time you point, you're flexing when you're flexing when you point just to show off the muscle. Like, it's not about you. You're the referee. It's not about you. Make the call. Go on with your life. But I do want fit. There you go. Look at this. See him? Look at it. Look at it with the bend. Look at with the bend. It's like,
it's so good.
You're going to tell me he can't straighten his arm?
No.
Of course he can straighten his arm. He's choosing not to because he knows he's on camera, so he's getting full bi and tri flex. It's what he's doing right there. That That is a clown show right there. Where did the music go, Muse?
Stinking ad.
Oh.
It happened again.
Maybe you should dub it into Adobe so then you
need
don't have to worry
yeah.
about that happening. It's way
Well,
easier
that's-
when you do it this way. There we go.
That's next on the list.
That's all right. You've only had
Yeah.
a month to get that.
Yeah. No, we haven't been doing this for a month, have we?
Yeah, this is week 4.
Okay. Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Well,
4 weeks in a month, Muse.
it's true. Sometimes there's 5.
True. Muse. Jay Parker thought your name was Muso.
He did.
How many people think your name is really Muso?
I mean, I get both. I get Muso and Muso. I can't put an exact number on it. I mean,
do more people call you Muso or Muso now? Oh, it's going to be Muso.
Well, so okay, it depends though, because some people actually spell it out now, like MEW. Yeah, like some people will do that. But like, no, I don't know. Normally, it's either Moose. Get Moose a lot. I don't know. I'd have to keep a counter on that and try to put a number on it.
So I mentioned that Russ Mitchell and I are going to dinner tomorrow in Hollywood. Do you know where we're going?
No, I've never been to Hollywood. I don't know.
There's a restaurant, a fine dining establishment in Hollywood called the Musso and Frank Grill.
Food's probably phenomenal.
No,
Actually,
look, check it. It's like,
I guarantee the food's phenomenal.
They're basically a fine dining restaurant in Hollywood, which is like a 100-year-old restaurant, throwback to like old school Hollywood. Like all the wait staff has on red, tuxedo jackets with the black lapel, bow tie. Yeah, man, I'm so far like.
You know what? That's underrated.
Oh, completely.
That's
like
way underrated.
I mean, I am really not pretentious about many things. It's just the things that I am very snobbish about, I'm unwavering. Like whiskey and a good steak, things like that. I don't waver. Don't give me bad whiskey. Don't give me a bad steak. I'm not going to be polite about it. I just don't want it. No, thank you. I will spend on a very nice meal to be wined and dined and pampered and stuff like that at a great restaurant. I am so excited about this. And Russ will probably pay. So
hey, that makes it even better.
Doubly excited about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna pay.
Okay.
I'll pay.
All right. I call the family, see if I can get you a discount, maybe.
Yeah, please
I'm
do.
sure I'm related to that guy somehow.
You gotta be.
His
name is Musso.
There's not many Musos.
I'm gonna walk in there and say, so this is Musso and Frank's.
This is Musso and Frank's.
I'm gonna sell everybody, and then I'm gonna call it Musso and Frank's. That's what I'm gonna do the whole time I'm there. Really looking forward to that.
Overrated or underrated? Back to task at hand.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just do this. Overrated or underrated food challenges. They probably don't have one of those at Musso and Frank's, but like you eat the big steak or whatever, get your picture on the wall, or the big burger. What do you think of those?
I think it's properly rated because the majority of humanity thinks that's stupid, which it is.
Okay. No, you're not impressed with it at all.
No.
That a guy can go in there and eat like a 12-pound steak.
That's
in
disgusting.
an hour and a half.
That's completely disgusting.
And then walk out of the building somehow.
A phenomenal steak should be savored and not gorged upon.
Okay.
No, that's disgusting. And I think the majority of humanity agrees with me that is disgusting.
Okay. Overrated or underrated? Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn's properly rated. Amazing in his time. He's typecast, though. So I don't think that you can say he's underrated because as a comedic actor, he's magnificent. And it's very obvious how much of his stuff that he ad-libs, which is a great talent. But I don't know that he has ever really branched out beyond comedic acting. I mean, his first movie, he did, Vegas Baby Vegas is from Swingers. So, but he's not super known for that. And then he also is Jamie O'Hara in Rudy, which I think was his first role. Like he was the running back in Rudy. He was Jamie O'Hara. Yeah. So last practice season, and this a-hole thinks it's a Super Bowl. That was Vince Vaughn. Yeah, man. So Chicago guy, big Notre Dame fan. So that was kind of a dream for him to play that. But I think he's just typecast in his role. So I think he's properly rated. He's a fantastic comedic actor, and I think that's what he is.
Overrated or underrated? A couple more here. Overrated or underrated? Archery.
Okay. Archery is... Are we talking about with the compound bow that I got to shoot at Bowie? Are we talking about like in the olden times when you would take a bow and like some wood and whittle it out, and then you would get some string from like a Tyrannosaurus Rex their tendon, and you'd have to bend the bow and tie it on, and then get a piece of rock and chisel your own arrow head.
Well,
are we talking about that? Or are we talking about like the sport of archery?
Yeah.
Where
what you described was building the bow and arrow. That's not archery.
When you look through a viewfinder and you push a button and it goes right, like when a dope like me who's never shot a bow and arrow in my life, and I can go to Bowie with a compound bow and hit a bullseye, anyone who thinks that that's a challenge, clown show. Archery, super overrated. Right. I can do it, and my child can do it. Anybody can do it.
Last one, overrated or underrated? Aerosmith.
Aerosmith's underrated. Aerosmith is, to this day, the best concert that I have ever been to.
Wow.
Honkin' on Bobo tour in 2001 at Lafayette, Cajun Dome. Got to sit in the front row.
Hey.
Gave old Steven Tyler a high five on Jaded. Amazing show. You could just tell some people like what they were born to do. Like, that man was born to be on stage and be an entertainer. Even at whatever he was at the time, 20 years ago in 2001, he's probably 50 years old, in his 50s at the time. Amazing. It is so difficult to be able to transcend generation. And when you think when they went through, like, the super trippy era in the 70s, then early 80s, then doing a collab with Run DMC.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all that they've done. Then to finally have a number one when they did a ballad for Armageddon. That was their first ever their first and only number one song.
That's
was
wild.
The song from Armageddon.
I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah, that one. Don't want to miss a thing. That was their only number one song ever.
Nuts.
But they have been able to transcend generation, which is musically the most difficult thing to do, to be able to release new music across different eras of music and to still be relevant. That's phenomenal. Aerosmith, even as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band, still tremendously underrated.
That's overrated and underrated.
Thank you, Muse. We should get that sponsored. Maybe it could be sponsored by Aerosmith. Make that happen.
Okay, yeah.
I know Steven Tyler. We're good friends.
Yeah,
He gave me a high five.
Yeah.
Will you give me a high five?
Yeah.
In 2001.
That counts for me, yeah.
Oh, this wasn't 2001. No, excuse me. It wasn't 2001. This would have been, because I was working at Rock 93.7. This would have had to been 03 or 04 is when this would have had to have taken place.
Also, like college, Matt.
What's the bar in Lafayette? In the big strip center, the gigantic bar. We went there after, owned the place. College Matt had a good time. Most people
front row at Aerosmith in a bar. It sounds like a hell of a night. High fiving Steven Tyler.
Most people in college have a really good time. I also just happened to work at a radio station where I was working at News Talk and in a rock station where we did it for that concert. We had a meet and greet with the band. We did a crawfish boil.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, like, we set up tables right outside of their tour bus so they could come out and just eat crawfish, just come out of the tour bus. And it was, hang on. It was Joe Perry. It was their lead guitarist, Joe Perry, who came out and was eating crawfish with us. So I got to, like, stand next to Joe Perry and eat crawfish before the Aerosmith concert. I've done some pretty cool stuff.
That's a good night.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was a really good night. Okay. Well, I'll grab a break and Muso. We'll do Tigers and the Pros. And then, we'll come back and we'll do Hour 3 after that and all that good stuff. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Pinnacle Exterior Construction. I was texting earlier today with my buddy Shane Danton over at Pinnacle Exterior Construction. Actually, he just texted me a bit ago. I'm looking at this now. He sent me pictures of a tree that went through a home. I mean, this is obviously all too common after a storm. But Pinnacle, while I tell you so much about their pools and outdoor kitchens and fences and decks, Pinnacle also has tree removal crews. So if you had trees fall on your property, here's hoping not onto or into your home, but if that were the case or it's anywhere on your property and you need trees removed, Pinnacle Exterior, spread this word. Call Pinnacle Exterior Construction at 757-6138, 757-6138, 757-6138, or online at pecbuilt.com. Yes, they can do your pool and your outdoor kitchen and fences and decks and bulkheads, but right now, so much of their work is going to be cleanup in the aftermath of the storm. Tree removal services, Pinnacle Exterior Construction.
After further review with Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Presented by Plucker's Wing Bar. Open till midnight or later every night of the week. Where every Monday is all-you-can-eat wings. Plucker's Wing Bar. If you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
All right, DraftKings live in Louisiana. If you didn't know, well, you just don't listen to this station because they are everywhere all over this. Spread the good news and you can win $1 million. Oh, Musso, you're fired, man. 1 million. You have to do the sound effect now. You have to do it. You have to do the sound effect.
I can't do the sound effect.
$1 million.
I don't remember the sound effect.
Oh, do your best. Do it for the people.
Dun dun. I don't know. I'm not. I'm not a big Austin Powers person.
Oh,
honestly, I'm really not.
You better be a big DraftKings guy though, because they're letting you win $1 million during week one. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, now's the perfect time. Download the DraftKings app. Use the code Baton Rouge. That's the key. Download the DraftKings app. Use the code Baton Rouge. One word, Baton Rouge. For a limited time, new players can get a free shot at $1 million.
Dun-na.
No, that's not good.
I don't know.
All right, if you don't have it tomorrow, you're really fired.
All right.
Gambling problem, want to call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're being on a plane tomorrow.
Eligibility restrictions apply. You might be hosting tomorrow. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, Musso has Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold.
Who is hosting
They're just
tomorrow, by the
really
way?
rich now. Presented by Kentucky's Best Hemp. Find them online at kysbesthemp.com.
The Bills, they re-signed long snapper Reed Ferguson at a 53-man Wednesday.
Noted Yankee fan, Reed Ferguson.
Oh, okay.
He's the better brother because the other one,
Oh, he's
whatever
the Red
his
Sox
name
fan,
is, he's the
yeah.
Red Sox
Blake.
fan.
Blake plays for the Dolphins.
Yeah, he stinks.
Yeah,
Forget
he's
about it.
pretty good, too.
No, he stinks.
Bills corresponding
Reed's
move
way
placed Marquez Stevenson on injured reserve. Ferguson has started the team's last 64 games, all in the past 4 seasons, 7 tackles on special teams.
I'm just kidding. They're both great. I like them both.
I liked the way Dan Bournet used to say Reed Ferguson's name when he'd make a tackle. And
How do you say it?
He's like, Reed Ferguson is good.
Oh,
That
so
was
you
good.
can remember how
Of course.
Dan Bournet
It was
says
great.
Reed
It was
Ferguson.
phenomenal.
How Dan Bournet calls the long snapper's name, but
Okay.
you can't remember the
First of
Austin
all-
Powers sound effect.
Reed Ferguson was a headhunter on special teams at LSU.
Your face. Speaking of hunting, Jake Cruz texted me. What you're calling a compound bow, I believe, is a crossbow. Compound bows aren't hard to shoot, but to hit the bullseye every time the first time you touch one means you're a very gifted natural archer. You know what that
So
means?
maybe you're pretty good.
I am a very gifted natural archer.
This is what happens when y'all text into the show. This is what happens.
You heard it from Jake Cruz. He said,
Jake, why are you doing
Matt,
this?
you are a very gifted natural archer. It is good to have natural gifts, Musso.
Yeah.
Apparently,
You're just born with it.
Apparently, I was born a very gifted natural archer.
Chief safety Tyrann Mathieu tested positive for COVID-19. He's going on the reserve list. That's from Tom Pelissero of NFL Media. Vaccinated players can return after consecutive negative tests 24 hours apart. Unvaccinated players must miss at least 10 days. Contract year for Tyrann Mathieu, twice All-Pro since March of 2019. Terrace Marshall had a really good preseason. We told you about it. It felt like every Monday here in Tigers in the Pros. Pro Football Focus came out with some numbers. Among rookie wide receivers, Terrace Marshall graded the highest at 81.4. 185 receiving yards, that was first in the preseason. 100 yards after the catch, that was also first in the preseason. Alex Bregman to baseball continues to work his way back from injury. 1 for 3 last night with a walk for the Astros. A 280 batting average in limited time this season for Alex Bregman. And then finally, DJ LeMahieu.
Hey!
We don't have enough time to do this right now.
Okay.
But he went to Brother Rice. Don't. 2 for 5 last night with a run scored in the Yankees, and Yankees
Brother
lost
school.
to the Angels. 266 average on the season so far for DJ at the top of the Bronx Bombers order. That is Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by KYSBestHemp.com. KYSBestHemp.com. Kentucky's best hemp. Use the promo code AFR30, AFR30 to save 30% off your order at KYSBestHemp.com. Trying to find this concert. March 25th, 2004, Cajun Dome, Lafayette. That's where I saw Aerosmith, and me and Steven Tyler became good friends. And I ate crawfish with Joe Perry. Hour 3 next.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com, theantiagingclinics.com. If you would like to, you can always go by and get a free testosterone check. Now, you can do your full blood labs, and that you do pay for, and they can check everything from your prostate to your kidney and your liver function and everything, your growth hormone, your testosterone, your estrogen, everything. They can look at the entire makeup of your body and look for deficiencies or imperfections, and they could supplement you. But remember, if you want a testosterone level check, they can always do that for free for you to let you know if you're a candidate for testosterone therapy, which could help you feel like your younger self. Learn more online at theantiagingclinics.com, the nation's best aesthetic practice. Online, theantiagingclinics.com.